Hi, thank you for joining us for our next installment, our final installment of Optimizing AdWords ROI. This week we're going to be going over using analytics to improve your AdWords ROI. My name is Carrie. I'm an account strategist at Google.
My name is Connor. I'm also an account strategist here at Google, and we are both coming to you live from our Ann Arbor, Michigan office. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. So today this is a live event, so if you do have questions, certainly ask in the chat box or in the comment section in the advertiser community forum. So today's agenda, we're going to be going over a few different things. Very first thing is you got to make sure your AdWords and your analytics accounts are actually linked together. Then we're going to go over how you can set up goals, which in AdWords are known as conversions. So in analytics, we'll go over how you can do it there. And then we're actually going to transition into a live demo of the externally friendly demo account in analytics. This was something that just got released, and you might have actually got an email about it today. So if you haven't already, you can actually download that demo account at the Analytics Help Center. So in there, we're going to show you how you can set up your goals, go over some conversion reports, and then some of Connor and mine's favorite analytics reports that we use for optimizing in AdWords. And then we're going to finish up today with viewing that information in AdWords. So today we're not going to go over too much on how to use analytics as far as adding segmentations, filters, and things like that. But if you have any questions on that, certainly feel free to give us a call or refer to the Analytics Help Center for those things.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Carrie. So as Carrie mentioned, today's presentation is going to be very focused on analytics data and how we can use that in AdWords. So the very first step is going to be making sure that your AdWords and analytics accounts are linked fully, completely, and successfully there. So this is a huge benefit to make sure that you're really getting the best understanding of the picture there of your data within AdWords. So we can then use that data to further optimize for conversions, which is what we'll dive into there towards the end of the presentation today. But starting out first, linking AdWords and analytics. So hopefully many of you or most of you already have Google Analytics tracking set up on your website. If not, stop here, stop right now, get that set up. That's really going to be the first step here that we're going to need, is going to be using analytics data. So make sure you have that tracking set up on your website. If you need help with that, let us know, visit our help center. But the benefits of linking AdWords with analytics here. So you'll be able to see ad and site performance data in analytics in the AdWords report section. So it will be essentially combining your already existing AdWords data with that fuller picture from the analytics data. So things like site behavior, user behavior, sessions, durations, those types of things. We'll be able to get a clearer picture of that. You'll also be able to import your analytics goals and e-commerce tracking directly into AdWords. So if you're already using goals that you have set up within analytics, you can just send that data right over into AdWords. We'll go through some steps here on how you can do that as well. As well as also using those analytics metrics, so things like bounce rate, as I mentioned, sessions and durations, that type of data here. We can only get that through analytics tracking, but we'll be able to view that data actually within your AdWords reports. So within AdWords, if you have analytics and AdWords linked, we'll show you the example of this here as well, but you'll actually be able to see some additional metrics and columns you'll be able to add to your AdWords reports to even give you as much data and as much information as we possibly can there with it. Also, some enhanced remarketing functionalities you can use. If you're using remarketing campaigns in AdWords, you can actually set up audience lists within analytics. And you have some additional options and features here you can use for those, as well as getting just richer data. And that full data experience here within AdWords. So again, completely essential here. I certainly always recommend getting these linked up here. So in order to link analytics with your AdWords account here, we'll just do some quick step-by-step screenshot tutorials here for this one. But if you're in your Google Analytics account, you'll need to go to the admin page at the top there. So click on admin. Make sure you have the correct account selected. So on the left-hand panel there, you'll be able to select the account that you want linked, as well as the properties. So within analytics, we have the account level, and then one step beyond that is going to be that property level. So make sure you have the right property selected. And then one of the options there, looks like the fourth one down, is just going to be AdWords linking. You'll want to go ahead and click on that. That will pull up any AdWords accounts you are eligible to link it to. So it's important to note that the way these systems are going to link accounts is actually through the email address. So your email address needs to be a user on both the analytics account as well as the AdWords account. If it's not, we'll need to add that email to either one of the accounts there. It's probably usually easier to add it to the analytics account, since AdWords, you have limits in terms of your email can only be on one account, whereas analytics, your email can be on multiple accounts there. But either way would work. It just needs to be an email address that's shared between the two. And then you'll be able to check off the boxes there for whatever accounts you want to link. And then the next section here will be asking you to link your views. So we discussed account and then property. The next level there is going to be the view within that property we have selected. So you can actually select which views you want to link there if you have multiple. The default one for most users is just going to be all website data. So you may just need to select that one, but make sure you are selecting a view. This is a very commonly missed step that I've seen many of our advertisers miss, is you link the property, but then you don't select any views there. So just double check, make sure you actually have a view selected and linked there. Otherwise, we won't be getting any data between the two. All right, so again, as I mentioned there, in order to link AdWords and analytics, your email address does need to be an admin on both accounts. So both analytics and AdWords in order for that data to flow between them. But then once you link the AdWords account to the analytics view, anyone with access to that view will be able to see it. So even if you're using one email address to link them, after they're linked, anybody who has access to those accounts will be able to view that data. All right, so our next section here, now that we have those accounts linked, your AdWords and analytics accounts are linked, everything's good to go. It's important to note too, if you're just linking them, it can take actually up to 72 hours for that data to import from the account into the other. So if you're not seeing that data right away, don't be alarmed, it will come through. If you just want to verify that, feel free to give us a call too and we can double check that linking, but it can take a couple days or so. But yeah, once you have those linked up, we will want to start setting up goals here. So let's dive into some goals and how we can use that data here for these specific goal types. If you tuned into our session a few weeks ago, we actually went through these in depth for analytics goals as well as AdWords conversion tracking. So definitely take a look through that. Hangouts on Air, it would be from about 3 or 4 weeks ago there for types of analytics and AdWords conversion tracking, but just wanted to highlight some of these here again. So within analytics, there are 4 primary types of goals that we can have set up. Your first goal here, probably the most traditional one and probably the one that you are most familiar with, is going to be a destination goal. So a destination goal is going to be when a user visits a specific page on your website. So you would actually specify the URL for the page that you want tracked, and then using your pre-existing Google Analytics tracking tags, your universal analytics tags on the site, we'll be able to track and know when users have visited that specific page. So this is going to be most commonly used for things like confirmation pages, thank you pages, form submission pages, maybe checkout pages or cart viewing pages, those types of things here. If you have those steps on your website, that's what we can track. The next type of goal here is going to be a duration goal. So that's dependent on sessions that last a specific amount of time. So if you want to know maybe how long a user is staying on a certain page on your website within a session, if that's useful for your business and your information, we can track that information as well. So we'll know actually how long users are staying on your website, and within that session there, are they leaving and then coming back? Are they having short sessions, longer sessions? We can track that here through duration goals. You specify that amount of time. Our next goal type is going to be pages or screens per session there. So that would be if users need to view a certain number of pages on your website. So say I click on your ad, I go to your website, and then I navigate to 3 different pages on your website, and that was all within the same session, then those would be 3 pages. If you set that as your goal, I would be marked as a goal completion there for it. So you can actually specify, if you know maybe we want users that have visited at least 5 pages of our website or 6 pages of our website, you can specify those here. The last one there is going to be an event goal. So this is going to be probably the most specific and also technical type of goal that you can set up. This would just be essentially any website action that you can define that would get marked as a goal completion. So things like a button click, maybe they click to view an image or play a video, they're clicking the contact us button on the page or a submit button. All of those there we can register as an event tracking goal. That does require some code implementation on your website. So you or your web developer would need to be able to have access to the website to implement that additional code. But this does give you a lot of flexibility and freedom in terms of the types of goals and events there that we can actually have tracked. So I am a huge proponent of event goals. I highly recommend them. If you're not using them currently, check out the Analytics Help Center, and there's some really great articles there in terms of implementation for event goals, or give us a call. We can try to help you out with that as well. All right, so our last type of goal tracking here within analytics that I want to highlight would be e-commerce tracking. So, or commonly referred to as revenue tracking. E-commerce tracking is actually going to give you transactional values that you are essentially getting from your goal completion. So this is primarily used for e-commerce type businesses. So if you run an e-commerce business or store, or you know the actual dollar value that your items or your products or your services there are returning to you when somebody completes that action on your website, then e-commerce tracking would likely be a great option here for you. Again, it does require additional coding, so you or your web developer would need to implement that on the website. But through this, we can actually get really detailed information in terms of revenue and transaction values that you were getting from those goal completions. So rather than just knowing the quantity or the number of goals that were completed, we can actually know the dollar value and that e-commerce or revenue value that's associated with those. Because I'm guessing for most e-commerce type businesses, I can think of a few examples, not every product or item is going to have the same price and the same return on investment there for your business, or return there in terms of purchase price. So using e-commerce tracking and revenue tracking, we can actually understand, okay, what are we actually getting and what's that value to our business? And again, we won't go through the implementation of e-commerce tracking today. We discussed it a little bit more in depth in our previous Hangouts on Air, but definitely check out our Analytics Help Center if you want assistance there in implementing that. But certainly important, especially for e-commerce type businesses, to have that tracking set up there on the website. All right, I will pass it on over to Carrie here now again. She'll lead us through our live demo within an analytics account. We're actually going to dive into some reports and take a look through an actual real analytics account. I'll turn it over to Karen. She'll guide us through there.
Thanks, Connor. So before we go into the different reports and analytics, I just want to show you real quick how easy it is to set up goals. The one benefit of setting up your goals in analytics is that for most of them, you don't need to do any additional coding on your page. So if you already have your analytics tag, you can set up duration, page sessions, or destination goals without any extra effort on your part. And to do that, you would just go to the admin tab in your analytics page, make sure you have the correct account, property, and view selected. And then under view, you would just go to goals. From here, you can see the list of goals that are already set up within this demo account. But in your account, you'll see a red plus goal button here. You just click that, tell it which type you want to set up, the landing page you want to track, or the time amount you want to track, and you're done. And so once that's completed, you would go back to reporting. And then also just a quick note, because you mentioned the benefits of remarketing and building audiences here, which is another thing you can do without any additional coding. That's just located under your properties and the audience definitions. So let's head over to reporting and see what we have available.
I do want to mention there really quickly, so the analytics data that we're looking at here in this live demo account, this is real data. It's actually coming from the Google Merchandise Store. So if you've ever been online and been to the Google Merchandise Store where we sell Google swag and items, this is actually the real reporting data, and this is available to everybody online. So if you ever want to see a fully fleshed out analytics account or just play around in it, this is available here. So that's the data we're going to be looking at today.
Definitely. So the first report we're going to look at, since we just talked about goals, is actually the conversion reports. So there's a lot of options in here, as you can see, but we're actually only going to go over a couple. So the very first one would be the goals overview report. And here, it takes a moment to load, you can actually see the number of goal completions you had, your total abandonment rates, conversion rates, and all this information broke down by what pages someone landed on. You can break it up by the source and the medium, so you can know whether these goal completions are coming from Facebook or AdWords, which is extremely beneficial. You can actually look at funnel visualization reports too. What this helps you do is to actually look and see where in the shopping process people are leaving. I'm sure you've had this instance, but I've definitely spoken with some advertisers who were having a very hard time getting people all the way through to purchasing, and we found out it's because their billing page wasn't working. And so people, with this report, we looked and we noticed that a lot of people on this billing page were actually leaving. And so that's what these red bars here means. They get to that page and then they leave. And so this is a very important report that you can look at to see the percentage of users that are actually putting items in your cart, going through all the needed steps before they complete that purchase. Now, I definitely recommend spending more time within these reports than we have time for today and looking at all of them. But the next one I want to look at is actually our e-commerce reports, which are most important for people tracking actual online purchases. So in the overview report, we can actually break it down and see the revenue versus your conversion rates in the charts above, and the actual dollar amount that's being brought in. Personally, I like to break these down even more and look at the product performance reports. This is one where you can actually look at a specific product on your site and be able to see, how much revenue is that one product bringing in for my site, how many are unique purchases, how many are returning users and buying the same thing over again, and actually be able to see the percentage of the revenue that's coming from something. This is extremely important for those of you who will be running shopping ads. This will help you look in AdWords and decide, okay, these products are the ones that are generating me the most revenue and have the largest profit margin. You can see in analytics they're already high performing, so let's increase the bids on those products and make sure those are showing. Versus there's other products, the ones at the very, very bottom of the list that might have a very small percentage of the revenue that you decide you don't want to spend your advertising dollars on, and you decide not to show those at all in your shopping campaigns. Some other reports that I like in here are going to be your top conversions path reports, your time lag. I would definitely spend some time in the multi-channel funnel. This particular report doesn't necessarily assist in the optimizing of AdWords, but it's still one of my favorites, so I like to show it. And it shows you how many times and how people actually visited your site. So, for example, the very first one is someone came in through a referral source and then visited a second time directly before they actually made a purchase or a goal. And so sometimes you'll see that they went to an ad, then went to Facebook, they came to the site direct, and then went to an ad, and then they purchased, so that you can actually see where your AdWords accounts and your different marketing dollars are playing a factor in your purchase cycle. So those are some of the basic conversions and goal reports, but I think you're going to get the most benefit from analytics when you're looking at AdWords optimizations from some of the other audience reports up above. So when you're creating a new campaign, how you decide who to target. Sometimes it's extremely a guess and check situation, but if you've been running analytics on your site, you already have a good idea. So let's say, for example, we want to look at demographics. We have a demographic reports in here that can actually show you the age range of the users who have already visited your site, and then also the age range of people who've converted. So for this example, for this data, the age range of 25 to 34 has generated 46% of the revenue in the date range we're looking at. So if I was starting a display campaign, I would make sure that I was targeting that age range and possibly excluding ones like the 55 to 64 age range here that doesn't really bring in much revenue at all. Now, the same thing goes for interest targeting. You'll notice that their categories in analytics are the same as AdWords. You have affinity and in-market segments that you can look at. If we look at the overview, this is super great. You'll actually be able to see what your users are interested in who are visiting your site. Now, say you have an electronics website, something similar to Google, you're obviously going to target electronics and music, things like that. But what if you went here and found out that 10% of all of your users like something completely crazy like Shutterbug? That's something that you could target that you wouldn't think of as being something that all of your users have in common, but you find out it's a correlation, and you actually end up seeing a really good return on investment. People who normally wouldn't see your type of ad are being targeted and helped in that way. The next thing I want to show you is the geographic reports. For these, I see the most common mistake is targeting the entire United States. Don't you agree?
110%. I see it all the time. There's so much room for optimization through geographic and location targeting.
Definitely. So I'd say if you're targeting the entire United States and only that in AdWords, this should be your #1 priority to fix. So what we're going to do is actually click into the United States so we can see what states are actually bringing in the revenue. So for this account, you see the lighter blue in the geographic map, and then the darker blues represent where majority of the clicks are happening. So if this account was only targeting the entire United States, they're probably spending money in states like Delaware and Iowa that are generating barely nothing, but California and Texas are bringing in a larger amount. You can actually see the exact statistics below on the percentage of sessions that they're bringing in compared to the percentage of revenue. So like here, California, that one obvious for this particular account, but this one's actually surprising too. New York, though it only accounts for 9% of the sessions, it's actually bringing in 26% of the revenue. So what I would do with this is go straight to AdWords, set New York as a specific target, and increase the bid adjustment. At least 10-15%, I would say, to start there. You don't have to go crazy with it, but at least start 10-15%. Let that run for a couple weeks, because that's going to make you even more competitive in a market that's already profitable for you. And that on the opposite spectrum, I would look down and be like, okay, Pennsylvania, we're bringing in 655 sessions, about 2% of the traffic, but only 1% of the revenue. You can deep dive this a little bit more and see like which products that are and so forth, so that you can decide if that's actually profit or just small marginal items that are coming in. And if you discover that this area is actually not profitable for you, you can add a decrease in your bid adjustments there, or completely exclude that state entirely. And that will allow you to spend your budget more on those areas that are profitable for you. So if you don't take anything else from today, geographic targeting and using your analytics.
Yeah, geographic targeting is huge. So Carrie mentioned the state level. We can even go more specific and more granular with that. So if you really want to even drill down to cities, you can get to that level of it here. You can see on the report here some cities that are already getting highlighted in terms of these are really our hotbeds in terms of revenue generation, and maybe that's where we want to be focusing your budget there. So even if you're not targeting across the United States, maybe you're only targeting within one state for you or a couple states, you can even go as granular as cities or zip codes there even as well, or certain regions and counties. So definitely take a look at geographic targeting. It's not limited to just those that are targeting huge different countries like the US and Canada. Even if you're targeting more local markets, you can get more granular and more specific with it to really highlight where and who is purchasing your items there and generating that revenue for you.
Yeah, for example, if you're in a large metro area, so say Chicago, but there's a section of that town that is just too far away, customers just aren't going to come from there, or anything like that, you can actually exclude specific zip codes that are not profitable for you. So it's great. And so another one that you can look at and do bid adjustments for in AdWords are devices. I'm sure if you've spoken to one of us, we've told you the importance of mobile because that's where a lot of our revenue is coming from these days, is advertisers just seeing so much benefit with advertising on mobile. I don't know about you, but I spend my lunch breaks on my phone shopping. So most people are fairly similar. So here you don't have to guess as to how many people are visiting your site on mobile versus desktop. You can actually see, a desktop, mobile, and tablet, so broken out to those 3 different devices, the percentage of people who visit, and the percentage who actually purchase on that device. Now, this right here, is not the end-all, be-all for your decisions, but it should definitely show you the importance of analyzing those devices. So for this, I commonly see that desktop is just not performing as well as it used to for people, and they'll actually decrease the bid on it, which is something that you're actually able to do now. Before, you could only adjust the mobile bids, but now you can do it for all 3 devices. If your site's not mobile friendly, you can find that out here, because you'll just notice a huge bounce rate for your mobile users. That tells you right away you need to look at your site. Is it not loading fast enough? Is the experience just not easy? Is it not easy to purchase? And so you can fix that. And then in addition, you can increase or decrease your mobile bids based on that experience on your site. So a lot of the reports here in the general audience are going to give you a lot of information into your site performance. There's a page speed report, page durations, those user flows will help you look at your site and know that it's optimized for getting someone from the first click on the ad all the way through to the purchase.
And I would like to add too, so for the device report here, we can use those bid adjustments. Previously, we only had the option of using mobile bid adjustments, but you may have seen or heard or read recently, maybe heard from one of us, but Google is rolling out all device type bid adjustments, so not just for mobile anymore. You'll actually be able to raise and lower those bids for tablets and computers as well. So just really wanted to emphasize that for you as well today.
Yeah, and we are already seeing it in a majority of accounts, so if it hasn't hit yours yet, it will very soon. So, and you can actually break this down even more to devices, which is great. So you can actually compare the different types, iPads, iPhones. I had an advertiser who found out that they worked great on Android, and then they went and looked at iOS devices, and their site just wasn't loading for some reason. So definitely great insights here. Another report here that is very important for analyzing your AdWords performance is going to be under acquisitions. So acquisitions, AdWords, you have a whole slew of reports here that are going to show you specifically what your AdWords dollars are doing for you. So you can, if you manage multiple accounts, you can actually look at multiple accounts. Otherwise, your campaigns, site links, you can even just look at where you got your bid adjustments all the way down to keywords. And with that e-commerce and those goals set up, you can look and see exactly how much money something is bringing in for you. So let's try here. Gotta wait for it to load up and look at a couple keywords. Now for here, the keywords report shows that the dynamic search ads are actually bringing in all of the clicks. But if we look, we actually get sessions from a few that are not set, which if you're not familiar, not set happens with display campaigns. And so you can see the percentage of revenues that are coming in. You can actually look, if you have it linked to your Search Console account, you can actually see your search queries, which is what the people are actually typing into Google. So this is a good place to look if you don't know what keywords to use. You can actually see what people type into Google to look for your products. And so we see that Google Merchandise, obviously this is a merchandise store, is the most popular, but there's some on here that I wouldn't necessarily set it on a waterproof backpack. It looks like people are searching that, but it's not bringing any revenue in. So that's something that I would probably set as a negative keyword for this account so that you don't waste your clicks and time on that, because that's you have $5 worth of clicks that you could have had spent elsewhere. And adding up all those things that actually aren't generating any revenue can sometimes add up to a lot, and so it's very important to look at this. Mm-hmm. And if we actually look at a little bit more, I'm going to dive into the campaigns report another level. And we're actually going to look at the ad groups. So you can actually see the specific ad groups that are useful for you, whether your ad groups are returning users, new users, t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever they are. You can actually compare their performance and how much money they're bringing in through those e-commerce. And like I said, you don't just have to look at e-commerce. So if you just want to see how many people registered, you can change that goal here. And so you can see 3 people registered when they visited the ad groups all pages. And from here, you can actually navigate to the actual ad itself and to the keywords. And so there's a lot more reports in here, like I said, as far as shopping, video reports, display. All of these are great and are something that you're going to want to spend time in. And the last section that we haven't touched at all, and I really won't go into today, is going to be the behaviors report. This is going to let you see where and how your users are interacting with your site. Like I said before, this is where that page speed report is, in-page analytics, pretty much everything here that's going to help you determine how you can get your site to function your best with your advertising dollars and get the best return on your investment. So unless Connor has any other analytics reports you want to add?
You really went through pretty much every one that I would like to show as well. I do think I would like to mention, though, that we were focusing a lot on revenue reporting here within analytics because we do have that data available. And just the example account we are looking at is an e-commerce store. You're selling products and items there online. If that's not your business, though, you can still look at these same reports, but rather than reporting revenue data, you'll just want to report whatever your goals that you have set up there. So if you're looking at destination goals, we can see that data to see maybe what your conversion rate is or your goal rate is for some of these goals, as well as the quantity of those goals that are being completed or the number of them. But just want to mention that here as well. So these reports, no matter what type of business you are, these are going to be helpful and useful there for you, even if you're not an e-commerce or an online store. Even if you're just a service type business or you're trying to get people that are submitting maybe contact forms or lead forms there to you, you can still use these same reports to really optimize your AdWords data.
Definitely, Connor, that's 100%. The very, very last thing I wanted to show you before we turn it over to Connor to see information in AdWords is adding in a segment for returning users. This is definitely something that I recommend for everyone. This way you can compare, the profitability of the returning users versus all users. Something that I commonly see is we'll set up campaigns that go out to anyone who searches this keyword or anyone who is interested in this, but we never think about how can we not spend money on people we already have. And so what you can do here is see how much money you're spending on those returning users and create audiences for converters or people who've completed your goals already and actually set them as an exclusion in AdWords so you don't spend money on people that have already performed the actions that you wanted them to. And if you need help doing that, certainly let us know. Help centers will help you with it, but it's definitely something that I recommend everyone explore.
Certainly agree.
So let's go ahead and back over here and take a look at how we can see some of that analytics data in AdWords so that you don't have to switch back and forth all the time.
Perfect. Yeah, so definitely, certainly look through analytics there as well. But since we're talking specifically about AdWords and Carrie and I are on the AdWords team, we definitely want to make sure we're tying this back here to your accounts and your campaigns. So one of the first steps here that we certainly want to recommend that you pursue is actually importing those goals and transaction data here from analytics into AdWords. So even though we linked the accounts at the beginning, we're still not going to get that transaction data and that goal data unless we import those specifically from analytics into AdWords. So to do so, it's a very simple process if your accounts are already linked. You'll want to go ahead and click on Tools up at the top of the page there within your AdWords account. Select Conversions. Once you're on that page here, on the left-hand panel here, you'll see we have Conversion Actions, Settings, Web Pages, Uploads. Look for that Google Analytics option. Click on that. And then there you will actually find the goals that you have set up within that view that you have linked to your AdWords account. All you'll need to do is click on those checkboxes, click on Import, and we'll start getting that data here pulled through. Again, just a reminder, it can take up to 72 hours or so for that data to come through. So don't be alarmed if you're not seeing it right away. That's totally normal. Just give it a couple of days or so before AdWords catches up and starts getting that data directly from analytics as well. Just another quick note here about that too. Even though we're importing this data, AdWords and analytics do measure conversions and goals differently. So you may see some discrepancies in AdWords versus your analytics data. Again, totally normal, totally expected there. It's just that the systems have different ways of measuring and different signals that they look for in reporting that data. One's not incorrect, one isn't right, one isn't wrong. They're just two different ways of looking at the data, I would say. There are some articles on our Help Center there if you want to look at the specifics in terms of why AdWords conversion data might not be aligning exactly with your analytics data. Definitely take a look at those or give our team a call and we can walk you through those explanations there. There's a whole slew of them, so we won't dive into each of those here today.
Yeah, I'd say like the most common reason, the easiest way to think about it is AdWords is only concerned about AdWords. If they ever clicked on the ad, and they've performed an action, AdWords is going to count it. Analytics is thinking about all of your sources, your direct traffic, referrals, social media, all that, so it takes that into account. So that's usually the biggest reason.
Definitely, yeah. So just keep that in mind. AdWords, when we see that data in there, it's only primarily concerned with your AdWords performance. All right, so now that we have those accounts linked up and you've imported those goals and those transactions here from analytics, we'll also want to add in some reporting columns here within your AdWords report so we can really see that analytics data here as well. So again, earlier we mentioned the types of reports here you can get from analytics. Now we can actually view that data directly within AdWords. So we'll see metrics like bounce rate, pages per session, the average session duration, and the percent of new sessions are the 4 primary reporting metrics that we can now look at here within AdWords. So to add those in, you'll just want to go to any of your reporting tabs, so campaigns, ads, ad groups, or keywords there. Go ahead and click on columns, select modify columns, and then now that the accounts are linked, one of your options there on the left-hand side there will actually be for Google Analytics data, and that's where we can add in these columns to view them. So if you're interested in what those metrics are, we can definitely help out with that. Just to highlight them really quickly here, bounce rate is going to be the percentage of users that are leaving your page within that session. So if they're not continuing on within your website, so say I click on your ad, go to your site, don't interact, don't click on anything, I bounce off of it, that would be essentially a bounce on your website. We want to keep that bounce rate low, but it definitely depends on each website for what maybe like a good versus what a bad bounce rate is. It's hard to give a specific number because it's definitely case-by-case specific there. Some of the other metrics there, those should be pretty self-explanatory, but just pages per session. So within a single session on your website, how many pages is a user visiting on average there? Average session duration. So just how long those sessions are lasting, and then the percentage of new sessions. So new users versus returning users, are they new sessions versus old sessions there? All right, so just some things to keep in mind about using this analytics data within AdWords. Again, everybody who uses your AdWords account will be able to see that data. So even if their email addresses aren't on the analytics account and aren't users on the analytics account, the fact that they're users on AdWords and the accounts are linked means that they will be able to view that data within AdWords. So they won't have full access to everything from analytics. Again, not all those reports and metrics there are going to carry over, but they will be able to see anything that you can see as well within AdWords. So just for privacy security reasons, make sure you know who's accessing and being able to see what types of data there. And then also, again, make sure that your analytics account and your AdWords account have the correct views linked up. So again, a very common issue that we see is that not all the views are linked or the incorrect views are linked. Make sure that your AdWords account is linked to all relevant Google Analytics views. So whatever views you're using, if you're just using all website data, that's all you need. But if you are using more specific views, make sure you have those linked there as well. You can import analytics data into your AdWords account from only 1 view per property from a maximum of 10 properties. So just another kind of limitation there to keep in mind in terms of the data restrictions. And then also you'll want to make sure that with Google Analytics you have all pages of your website tracked and tagged. So if you're missing the tracking tag from Analytics on certain pages, we're just going to be missing out on a lot of data. So certainly ensure that every page of your website is tagged within Analytics. And then also keep in mind that mobile app property metrics can't be imported from Google Analytics. So if you're looking at mobile app data, that's going to remain in Google Analytics through the mobile apps report. Won't be able to see that here within AdWords.
And a brand new thing to help replace that is going to be the new buyer-based analytics.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to go over that today, but if you're doing app advertising, just go ahead and Google it.
Yep. Thanks, Carrie, there. So if anybody has any questions, we'll hang around here for just another minute or so. Feel free to send them our way. But just want to highlight the other support channels and resources there for information for you. Feel free to contact our team anytime, 1-866-2-GOOGLE. You'll get in touch with an AdWords specialist here. We can help you out with analytics as well. We're also trained in that, so don't hesitate there. Send us an email, chat in. You can also help get in contact with us here on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus there. And also make sure you remember to review these presentations. They'll be on our AdWords YouTube channel. And also just check out our AdWords Help Center and community forums. But thank you again so much, everyone, for joining us today. Carrie and I, it was a real pleasure for both of us. But other than that, everybody have a great rest of your week, a happy upcoming Labor Day weekend here as well.